a promotion, a vacation, a relationship that finally feels settled, a body that finally looks right. And somewhere between one Monday and the next, an entire life quietly slips by, unnoticed. I've watched this pattern for centuries, and I promise you, it never changes, only the outfits do. Before we go any further, if you're new here, welcome to the family. Press that subscribe button now so you never miss a conversation with me. Now, come sit with me. Let's talk. Today, I want to talk about something deceptively simple: joy. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that lives in ordinary Tuesdays, in cups of coffee, in the 5 minutes before your alarm goes off. Because here is the truth I need you to hear, clearly and without apology. You do not need a perfect life to be happy. You need a present one. Let's start with the story most of us are living, whether we admit it or not. You wake up, you check your phone before your feet even touch the floor. Within minutes, you've seen someone's new house, someone's flawless vacation, someone's soft launch of a relationship that looks like it was written by a screenwriter. And without meaning to, you begin measuring your morning against someone else's highlight reel. This is comparison, the habit of holding your real, unfiltered life next to someone else's curated one, and quietly deciding that yours falls short. Comparison is an old thief, my dear. In my own time, it wore different clothes: a rival's jewelry, a neighboring kingdom's harvest, another queen's popularity with the people. Today, it wears filters and captions, but the mechanism is identical. It convinces you that your life is a rough draft, while everyone else is publishing the final version. Here is what I've learned across every era I've observed. Nobody is living the highlight reel. Not one person. Everybody edits. Everybody hides the argument before the photo, the doubt before the caption, the exhaustion before the smile. So when you compare your actual Tuesday to somebody else's edited Saturday, you are not just being unfair to yourself, you are comparing two different categories of truth. Now, let's talk about why so many of you feel exhausted even when your life, on paper, looks fine. You are the calendar keeper, the emotional translator, the one who remembers the dentist appointment nobody else remembers. You carry responsibilities that rarely get applauded, and somewhere along the way, rest started to feel suspicious, as if slowing down meant you were falling behind. This is the guilt so many women carry, the quiet belief that if you are not producing, achieving, or fixing something, you are simply not doing enough. Let me be very direct with you. Productivity was never meant to be a substitute for peace. A queen who never rests does not rule longer, she rules worse. Rest is not the opposite of ambition. It is the maintenance that makes ambition sustainable. This is where self-care becomes essential, not the candles and bubble bath version sold to you in advertisements, but the deeper kind, protecting your energy, honoring your limits, and treating your own well-being as a legitimate priority instead of a reward you have to earn. And alongside self-care, you need its quieter, gentler cousin, self-compassion. This is the practice of speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a friend who is struggling, without the harsh inner critic, without the constant self-punishment for being human. Most of you would never say to a friend, "You didn't do enough today, you're falling behind, you're failing," yet you say it to yourselves daily. Self-compassion asks a simple question. If you wouldn't say it to someone you love, why are you saying it to yourself? Now here is where things shift. There is a woman I think of often, not a queen, not famous, simply a woman I observed for years, in different centuries, wearing different faces. She always believed happiness was one step ahead of her. When she was single, she believed she'd be happy once she was in a relationship. Once she was in the relationship, she believed she'd be happy once it became serious. Once it became serious, she believed happiness was waiting at marriage, then at motherhood, then at retirement. She spent her entire life reaching for a finish line that kept moving, And on her last ordinary afternoon, she finally understood, a little too late, that the joy she had postponed for decades had been available the entire time, hidden inside the days she rushed past. That is the danger of believing you'll be happy when you get the job, when you lose the weight, when the relationship is fixed, when the house is finally paid off. Happiness treated as a destination will always be late, because the mind, once it arrives, simply invents a new destination. This is why presence matters so deeply. Presence is the practice of being fully here, in this exact moment, instead of mentally living in a future you're anxious about or a past you regret. It sounds simple. It rarely is, because most of us are experts at time traveling in our own minds, replaying yesterday's mistake, rehearsing tomorrow's worry, while the actual only moment we ever truly have quietly passes us by. There is a beautiful practical tool for this, one that therapists and monks and apparently ancient queens have all discovered independently: mindfulness, or what some call attention on purpose, noticing your breath, your surroundings, your body, without judgment, simply as they are right now. You don't need an hour on a cushion for this. You need 30 honest seconds, feeling the warmth of your tea, hearing the sound of rain, noticing the specific blue of the sky today. Small doses of attention, repeated daily, quietly retrain a distracted mind. And this brings me to the practice I consider the true antidote to almost everything we've discussed: gratitude. Not the forced, performative kind, writing "I'm grateful for my family" 3 times a day without feeling a thing. Real gratitude, the kind where you actually stop and notice: this coffee is good, this friend texted me back quickly, I have hands that work, a mind that thinks, a heart that, despite everything, keeps choosing to try again. Research on gratitude, and I do encourage you to look into the well-documented psychological studies on this, my darling, because I am a queen, not a scientist, consistently shows that people who practice noticing what's good, even briefly, report higher well-being and lower anxiety over time. It is not magic. It is simply redirecting attention toward what is already working, instead of only toward what is missing. Which leads us to another habit worth building: celebrating your small victories. That project you finished, that boundary you finally set, that morning you got out of bed even though it was hard. We are trained to only celebrate the grand milestones, the wedding, the graduation, the big promotion, and to walk past everything else as though it doesn't count. But a life is not built from 5 enormous days. It is built from thousands of ordinary ones. If you only celebrate the mountain peaks, you will spend most of your life feeling like you're accomplishing nothing, when in truth, you are quietly accomplishing everything. Let's also talk about abundance for a moment. Not the kind measured in gold, though believe me, I understand gold. I mean the quieter abundance, the recognition that your life is already, right now, holding more good than your anxious mind gives it credit for. Scarcity thinking constantly asks, what's missing? Abundance thinking gently asks, what's already here? Both questions are available to you at every moment. You get to choose which one you ask more often. And underneath all of this sits one more idea, perhaps the quietest of all: purpose. Not some grand, singular calling you must discover before you're allowed to feel fulfilled, but the sense that your ordinary choices, your ordinary days, actually mean something. Purpose doesn't have to be enormous. It can be raising a child with patience. It can be doing your work with integrity. It can be simply choosing, again and again, to live with intention instead of on autopilot. Which brings us to perhaps the simplest phrase and the hardest practice: living in the now. not ignoring your goals, not abandoning your ambition, simply refusing to postpone your joy until every goal is met, because, darling, they never get all met at once. There is always a next chapter, a next challenge, a next version of when. The women who seem to glow from the inside, the ones who feel truly alive, are rarely the ones with the fewest problems. They are the ones who stopped waiting for their problems to disappear before allowing themselves to feel good. So here is what I want you to remember long after this episode ends. Joy is not a destination you arrive at once your life becomes flawless. It is a practice you return to again and again inside a life that will never be flawless, because no life ever is, not even mine, and I built an empire. An extraordinary life is not made of extraordinary days. It is made of ordinary days, lived with attention, gratitude, and gentleness toward yourself. You don't need the perfect life. You need today, seen clearly and held with a little more tenderness than you gave it yesterday. Before you go, do me a small favor. If today's conversation meant something to you, tap that like button and leave a comment telling me one small thing you're grateful for today. I read every single one, and I promise they warm even a queen's heart. And don't wander off just yet, because next episode we're going somewhere just as close to the heart, and I would love for you to be here for it. Now that you've heard my voice and my reflections, let's quickly review today's key words, words that are important for your English vocabulary and for your life. Gratitude is simply noticing the good things you already have, instead of only the things you want. Presence means being right here, right now, not stuck in yesterday, not worried about tomorrow. Self-compassion is being as kind to yourself as you'd be to someone you love. Small victories are the little wins, getting out of bed, finishing one task, that deserve a smile too. Comparison is measuring your life against someone else's and forgetting yours is enough. Mindfulness is paying gentle attention to this exact moment, on purpose. Purpose is the reason behind what you do, the why that makes it matter. Self-care is choosing to protect your energy like you would protect someone precious. Abundance is realizing you already have more good than you think. And living in the now simply means letting today be enough. Thank you for listening. Like this episode, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.